Hi everyone. Just want to get started. Just want to come on a little early. We'll get started in just a minute or so. I wanted to bring up my laptop so I could see the comments, but I'm not having any luck. There we go. I got it. So hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can't, send me a message here and I'll see what I can do. Okay. I'm just going to mute that. Okay. Hi, I'm Darcy of Darcy Doodle Quilts. Here's my first little wall hanging that I take to all my events. I'm from Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is my first live Facebook Live, so bear with me. It might be a little off, but that's okay. We'll have fun. I have always been creative, even when I was a kid. There's a little old lady that used to live across the street from me, and I would always be over there sewing, crocheting, knitting. She showed me everything. She was just like my grandmother, and it was a blessing because both of my grandparents lived away. So as I grew up, I drew a lot and sewed, and so I've always been a creative person. When probably about 18 years ago, before I had my kids, I got into quilting a little bit. I was invited to a quilt guild in Woodstock, New Brunswick, and my first quilt was very challenging, very big. I hand quilted it, so I don't even know why I continued quilting after this, but this is just a little, I'll show you a little piece of it. It took me 2 years to hand quilt, so I don't hand quilt anymore. That was my first and my last. My mom is a hand quilter, but I do not. So this is just a little piece of it. Most of my things are small, so I just wanted to show you a little piece of my first quilt. So it was a lot of work. As time went on, I had my kids and I wanted to make baby quilts for them. So that's where it kind of ramped up, and I never stopped from there. I had a great time making their quilts, and I got into it more and more. The guild in Woodstock was so welcoming to me. Hi Woodstock girls, I hope some of you are watching. And I was making traditional quilts, and this is one of my first more artsy type quilts that I made, and I actually won Best in Show for this at the Woodstock Quilt Guild. So time went on. I ended up moving to Fredericton and joined the Keswick Bridge Guild, which is close by, and a lady came for a program, and she was a quilt artist, and as soon as I saw her work, I said, that's what I want to do. So I quickly switched my gears and went online, learned as much as I could. I taught myself how to art quilt, and I haven't stopped since. I'm always learning new techniques, so I have a lot of different techniques to show you, and I make patterns as well. So I have some of my patterns that are different techniques that you can check out. So I had a quilt show, the Keswick Ridge Quilt Show in 2014, and it was at a hotel here locally. It was at the Riverside Resort in Mactaquac, and the lady that ran the hotel saw a couple of my little tiny art quilts that I just started. I'd only done a couple at that time, and she asked if I could maybe put some of my work up in the hotel. I could not believe it. I was so excited. So that's how Darcy Doodle Quilt started. I had a little shop in the hotel. I started making more art quilts and some smaller quilted items, and got some other people to join me from different artisans, very talented people. And actually, I want to show you this one before I keep going. This was in the same quilt show that I talked about, and it's all free motion quilted because I didn't like hand quilting, and it's got different designs in every part. This took me a long time to make, so this was a challenge for me, but it really, really helped me learn how to free motion quilt really well. So I never stopped after that. So I'm going to show you some of my art quilts, and I'm just going to get this one out of the way because it's so big. This, I framed some of them. This one is called An Ukshuk on the Shore. I'll just bring it closer so you can see it too. It's sorry for the reflection. It's kind of hard with the glass on top. So so this is one of my bigger pieces. I do a lot of thread painting. I add lots of fun things to my quilts, like yarns and tulle and whatever I can get my hands on. Shells, seashells, driftwood, whatever. I add it. Some people might think that's crazy, but I love it and I don't follow any rules. So here's my, I don't know what I called this, but it's like a little marsh, and if you'll notice, I have a little piece of driftwood that it's hanging from. My husband actually calls me the stick lady because every time we go to the beach or even down to the river close by, I'm always looking for sticks, and the kids are always knowing, oh, Mama wants some sticks. So I usually bring a lot of sticks home. So if you're looking for some sticks or driftwood, come to me. This one here is called Whale of a Tale. I make postcards, a lot of fabric postcards, a lot of quilted postcards, and this is one of my postcard patterns just blown up. So even if you don't like making little things, you can take my little postcard pattern and enlarge it and make something a little bigger. They're really fun to do and really quick, so if you just want to get your feet wet, it's a great thing to do. And I mentioned driftwood. I even put my quilts on driftwood. So anytime I find a really good big piece, I usually try to create something and glue it right onto the piece of wood, just for fun. Rachel Setford is one of my favorite quilt artists. I watch all of her things on Instagram. She's an amazing quilter. She uses tiny little pieces of fabric and sews it all on with thread painting. She calls it textile embroidery. So I just wanted to kind of try something similar to what she does. So this is called the Beacon. All of her skies and her water and her fields are all nice and swirly and fun. So I've been trying to do a little bit of her work. Hope you can all hear me okay. I think so. Okay, what else do I have? Okay, I also make, when I go to a lot of shows, which we won't be doing this spring, but I like to make some small pieces because sometimes people really would like to have a piece of art, but they just don't want to spend a big amount of money. So I make a lot of smaller pieces. This is just an example of some smaller piece that I make. And another stick, look at that. I also do some collage quilts like this. Last year I did a whole series of flowers, and this is a new technique. I decided to put them on a piece of mat board which I just buy at Michael's, and then I mount the pieces on the mat board. So I have 4 or 5 of these different types of flowers. I did those for Mother's Day. And I also do birds, and I have patterns for these. These birds, I'm just working on the patterns. They'll be released probably next week or so. So it's a fun little, if you just want to try something fun, try a little thread painting. I actually use all of my scraps, as you can tell. I have a lot of fabric, which we all do, I bet. Here's another one that I framed, and it has some sari silk on it and some yarns, some specialty yarns, and it's actually in a yarn. And this one was made totally of sari silk and a scarf, and I really did not enjoy this one. I will never make another one like this. I don't like how it turned out, but here it is. So I'm always experimenting. I also do patterns. I call them Mosaic Quilts, and Anne Lovelace does this technique, but she uses tiny little squares and puts them on her background and then sews them. And I did my first one, actually. I'll show you my first one with the squares, which took forever. This one here, it's Autumn on the Lake. This pattern's on my Etsy shop as well. But I now do rectangles instead because it takes a little less time, because this is a lot of work. And you can see some beads on the bottom there. This was actually in Art Quilting Studio last year, the magazine, Art Quilting Studio, as well as this one. This one is Tranquil Morning, and this is another pattern that I make and teach. And here's another one. This was also a mosaic. And this one is Hopewell Rocks. If you have ever been to New Brunswick, you've probably gone to the Hopewell Rocks. So this is a mosaic of Hopewell Rocks. Isabel Moore, she's another UK artist. I seem to like a lot of the people in England and UK that are doing art quilting, and once I saw her work, I wanted to do something similar to her. So this one has a lot of different things on it. It has felting wool and beads and sequins and yarn and a little bit of everything. And this one I just finished probably a month ago, maybe before spring came. And this is another one that's probably similar to Rachel Stepford's technique, just not as detailed as hers. So you can see the tree has some extra stitching, lots of stitching in the sky. I also make fiber art bowls. I've always trying new things. So this is similar to the Marsh quilt. I made this at the same time. So what I do is I put them on canvas. I make my quilts on canvas, and then you can see where the stitching is. If you look really close, that's where I cut it after I stitched it, which was very scary. But you cut it and then you kind of fold it over to make the bowl shape. So this is one. This is Moonlit Tree, I think. I can't remember the name of it. So that's another one. And a friend of mine on Instagram, she actually started making fiber art bowls as well, and I love her stuff. And she's going to put a little loop on back to hang them on the wall. I'd like to try that too, once I see what she does. I also make, because I go to a lot of shows, I like to have a lot of smaller stuff. So I got into making quilted journals. This one was with Inktense pencil or Inktense ink blocks. Inktense. I had a hard time saying this in my practice run too. Inktense blocks. So I stitched it first and then used the blocks to kind of do like a watercolor technique. So it's fun to try to experiment on these little things. This one says Adventure Awaits, and it has some confetti for the tree. It's confetti quilting with tulle over top. This one is more of a male one. I don't make a lot of things that men would love, so I'm trying to do more masculine things as well. This one is Wolf, Howling at the Moon. Thank you, Marja. Marja, thank you. She said, I love your bowls. Thank you. This is an upcycled doily, so I found that at Value Village, I think. I found a pile of them, so I made some journals with that. And this is a piece of lace. You can see the lace wraps all the way around. That was secondhand as well. I like to try to upcycle, recycle, whatever. Here's a cardinal. Sorry for the tag. I forgot to move it. This is in a going to be one of my bird patterns too. I just put it on a journal. Oh, I'm almost out of time here. This one is similar to my Mosaic quilt. This one says Balance, and it has a rock cairn on it. A dolphin. And this one is a new design. It says Wonder, Wander, Repeat. And I put a little button and wrap some hemp around to kind of hold it closed. Here's a yoga one. I have many more. You can check them out on my Etsy site, but I just wanted to show a few of what I make. This one. And my bumblebee. I talked about the art, or the quilted postcards, so I'm just going to show you a few of those. There's a cardinal. I do a lot of trees. Oh, look, I'm shaking. I do a lot of trees and a lot of birds. This one was actually in Art Quilting Studio magazine as well. Marshy Moose. And I like flowers. Atlantic salmon, which we're known for around here. I actually grew up on the Miramichi, and that's where we're. And this is a beach. I love doing beaches too. They usually sell as quickly as I make them, so I don't have a lot on hand. And a lighthouse. I love lighthouses. Here's my whale of a tail, made in the postcard size. And I'm always looking for new ways. I like to keep track of what I've made, so I've started making note cards. So they're art prints, note cards of all the things that I make. So I sell these, and you know what, it's a perfect time for these because on my Etsy site people haven't been buying a lot, but they are buying a lot of note cards, so people must want to send notes to their loved ones. So they're a great little piece of art for a friend or a family, and I can even sign it for you if you'd like me to write a little note and send it directly to them. And I also do postcards. So this is one of my bigger art quilts that I made. This is oh, what was the name of the place? Friat Valley in Alberta. And I actually have this pattern online. It's called Springtime Apple Orchard. Peggy's Cove in Nova Scotia. That was a commission as well. This one is, see that little piece on the bottom? That's all different colors. That was a hand-dyed piece that I'd done. I'd taken a couple of classes in hand dyeing, so that was a piece, and as soon as I saw it, I knew I needed to make that. I kind of was inspired by the fabric. This one's Sheep Farm. This is Ice Fishing Shacks, which is another pattern on my Etsy site. This is Winter Trail. And here's the Hopewell Rocks again. I made a bigger version of that quilt. So, and this one is Sunset on the Dock. Reflections, I called it. And the last thing I wanted to show you were bookmarks, and I've been posting on my site. I have an actual, I have a little giveaway right now for people who are home and probably reading a lot more than usual. I am giving away 2 bookmarks, and it ends on Sunday. So if you'd like to enter, please do on Darcy Doodle Quilts, either on Instagram or Facebook. Here's one more. So there's 7 different ones. And also, in order to celebrate, thank you for the organizers that set this up. It kind of gave me the little push I needed to go live. So thank you to you. And also as a thank you to you watching, if you're a quilter, I have all my PDF patterns on sale till Sunday for 20% off on my Etsy site. So check it out. And coming up next, I want to make sure I get it right, is your sewing friend, Theresa Weaver. She'll be on at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. Wait. No. 1 o'clock Eastern Time, 2 o'clock Atlantic. So check her out, and just know that if you don't get to see everyone's, you can go on their Facebook page later and watch them. So thanks a lot. Have a great day, and I can't wait to read my comments. See you later.